Let's talk about the field this week. I just asked you who you wanted to meet. But Deeb, I'll hand it back over to you, and let's talk about the field and who's playing, maybe who is highlighted as potential winners, or yeah, just take it away.
Yeah, so this is our field breakdown. So we're going to try to kind of go through, maybe talk about a couple different players, different scenarios, what we think could happen, what maybe surprises, storylines, etc. So the first I want to start with is who we think are maybe the top contenders. Who are the serious. And I know this is so hard to break down because anyone can be a contender at Augusta, but I think the names for me initially that come to mind would be obviously Scotty. He's won twice here in the past couple years. A lot of people are looking at Rory, his form. He's been playing really well. He's worked on his swing. He's won a few times. Is the consistency there? It's the last major he would need to complete what's called basically like the Grand Slam, right? He's going to win all. Can he do it and win every single major? And he'd be one of very few that would have done that in history. And then we have other people in here like, Colin Morikawa, who has played very well and always finished basically in top 10 or maybe even top 5. We have Xander, who won 2 majors last year, coming off of an injury, hasn't been playing so well this year, but historically has. John Rahm, who went over to live and won the year in between Scotty. Just so many different names. So maybe, Andrew, let's start with Scotty and Rory. What are your thoughts on those two? And, what are you thinking right now in terms of, are they really the top 2 contenders this year?
Yeah, I think everyone has opinion on this, and I think Scotty has the least amount of distractions he's ever had to win the Masters versus being in jail or having a child in previous majors. And even last year, whenever he won, he was going to have a child within the next week. And he even said if it was on a Sunday, he would leave the tournament and just go experience having his first child, which is wild. And he's in form right now, as always. He had a little bit of a slower start at the beginning of the year with his putter, but it's gotten a lot better. And that's always been, if he can putt, the man will win. So I still believe that through and through, because he's always one of the best iron players. And you'll hear that a lot whenever we talk today. It is about how important iron play is in the Masters. You've got to be precise on these greens. So if you don't hit the center of the green, or if you hit a little bit left of your target, it'll come all the way back off the green, and then pretty much you're guaranteed bogey. So I think Scotty's still the favorite. And last year, whenever he won, it was one of, like, going into Sunday, it was like, man, I kind of don't want him to win. I want to see something different. And then he just dominated. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, Deeb, if you have a different opinion on that with Scotty.
It's so weird because you're right. He almost, in a weird way, like you would think the most pressure would be on him, but it's almost like he has this weird, like, no pressure situation. And maybe I'm not so much talking about from what you had mentioned, like the kids and the getting arrested thing. It's almost like the spotlight has been on Rory. I swear, like every year, because it's like the one major that's missing from his, trophy case, and it's like he needs it to get the Grand Slam and win all the majors. It's like Scotty's just like, oh yeah, he's like the world number 1. He's great. He could go back to back. The course fits him. He plays this well. He's a great iron player. I don't know. It's very odd. It almost makes me think like, is Rory just doomed? Is it just like a mental thing? It has nothing to do with even if he's in form. It's that mental block of like getting over the hump. Like, what do you think about Rory, right? Because he's playing well. I mean, everything points right
Yeah.
now that he should contend.
Yeah, he's had an amazing year. Won at Pebble Beach, won at Sawgrass barely, and had to go to playoff to win that one. Some may say that may have been almost a choke by him to have to go to the playoff.
Yeah.
But and it's not even that he just hasn't won a Masters. He hasn't won a major in a very long time.
Yeah.
I think I heard the stat the other day that the the time between majors whenever Tiger won 2019 from before that is now shorter than how long it's been since Rory has won his last one. So, yeah, because when you think about it, 8 years ago, Rory was supposed to be the next Tiger Woods in terms of number of majors, right? And he's won other tournaments. He's really good at winning in Dubai. For some reason, he's really good at winning whenever there's not much pressure.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, I mean, he missed 2 5-foot putts. One of them on 18 is a very tough putt, but the putt on 15 he should have made that every day of the week.
Yep.
So, and that happened also 2 weeks ago when they were I can't remember where it was in Texas or Florida, but he had a putt on 18 to probably make an extra $1 million, and he missed it. That was a 6-footer. So it's happening a lot recently. So, and but the other thing is, out of the 10 times that he's played in the Masters, 7 times he has had top 10. So he is always there. He just never can close.
So if Rory wins, though, do you think that puts him, like, where does he rank then historically? Is he now in the top 5? Like, where do you think he goes if he wins and gets the Grand Slam?
I think he'd be right on the border of top 5. The problem is Scotty now getting in that factor, right?
Oh.
So I don't think he's quite top 5 yet. Top 10 for sure. But yeah, it would be pretty close for sure.
So we mentioned a couple other names. We have, like Morikawa, Xander, Rahm, Bryson. Out of those people, some of them have won, like Rahm. Some of them have played really well here. I mean, do you think that there's anybody out of that group that sticks out to you, or anybody kind of that you would put as a top contender that I have not mentioned? Would you agree with that those people are top contenders, or would you remove some of those names that I just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, I think any of those names can win it. It would take a pretty good feat for them to win. Morikawa specifically has played really, really well. He played well at Arnold Palmer's course in Florida. I can't Arnold Palmer Invitational. Bay Hill, there it is. He played well there. But same thing with him. He doesn't have that many wins, and he's been in the majors before. I think he's won 1 U.S. Open whenever he was younger. But it's the same thing with him. His putter matters a lot. He's the best iron player, far above everyone at the PGA for the past 5 years, which is why he'll be there. The problem is the live players. We haven't seen them, right? We don't know how Rahm, Koepka, Bryson are going to play. I think Bryson is very boom or bust. We'll know after Thursday if he's going to be there Sunday or not. Because if he can drive around that course like past everyone else besides Rory, he can dominate that course just like he did at Pinehurst. One you didn't mention is Oberg. So, I mean, that man was like 21, 20 years old last year.
Yeah.
And after the front 9, he had a very good chance of winning it until Scotty took over. And, I mean, maybe I have some TGL bias because I watched all those as well. He's an absolute stud on TGL. And I think he can win it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because it's only his second time playing here, which, Scott, for reference, like, that is very crazy if you've never played this course before. Like, last year was his debut and he got second.
Yeah, I remember hearing about him because we talked about him like the first week we talked golf.
Yeah.
I also have a bias against him because I chose him 1 week in fantasy and he did terrible. And the next week he won after I didn't choose him.
Yeah. I mean, he's good. The 1 week I picked him, he withdrew. So I'm there with you. But then,
yeah, that's what it was. I forgot he withdrew. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that's interesting that I didn't really realize was Xander. I didn't realize he was hurt, and that's why he hasn't been playing as well. I was looking at like some of his statistics, and I mean, he's playing significantly worse than what he was at this time last year. So I'm like, part of me wants to say, like, I mean, does he pull it together all of a sudden, or is he just still kind of recovering and, maybe he's really not a threat? I don't know if you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on Xander, but he's kind of an interesting one because he won 2 majors last year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the story of someone getting hot really quick. He also won the Olympics, I believe, as well, or placed really highly in the Olympics. But I think he cut his hand, right hand, with a wine glass, something like that.
Yeah.
Which happened to a bunch. That happened to Scotty as well, but
Yeah.
apparently it was a little worse for Xander.
Yeah.
And I just never seen him be truly super competitive on Sunday at the Masters. So he's still an amazing golfer, so it's still possible. But I'm not sure about this year. So.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? So you mentioned the live players. Who do you think out of the live players is the biggest threat to win this year?
I kind of crazy to say because I think last year was like the year where everyone thought a live player could win, because everybody was in form and playing really well. I think they're actually more informed this year than they were last year, which is pretty wild because Neiman has been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
Now that's the problem. We don't know if he's playing well on the Live Tour because it's the Live Tour and he's not competing against Scotty and Rory and everyone else.
Yep.
And then I have a little YouTube bias because Phil Mickelson has a YouTube channel, golf channel, deep into YouTube golf. But he's like did kind of like the TB12 method this year, and has like lost a bunch of weight. Focused super hard, and I will not be shocked if he's top 20. And then there's rumors about Sergio Garcia all of a sudden playing out of his mind. So
I heard that.
it's, and I didn't even bring up Rahm or Koepka or Cam Smith. So I mean, I don't know who I think's the best this year. I think it's going to be DeChambeau probably because it always is on the past 2 majors, and I think distance matters a lot as always.
Yeah, I think he's probably the most. He's proven to be a little bit more consistent in the majors over the past 2 years, at least. Like when Brooks went off the 1 year, I was super surprised. I know he's good, like has a history of majors, but I was not expecting him to be playing that well that 1 year. I was like, this guy took a gummy or something. Like what is he playing out of his mind? Like it just literally, I promise you, I was like, there's no way this guy is about to win this. He just came out of left field. I was like, I was just shocked. But the one random sleeper is Phil Mickelson because he finished second like a couple of years ago, and that was another one where I was like, how did he get second?
Yeah,
like he's like in his 50s, right?
Yes, there will be a player that every single year, especially going into the cut. So after Friday, there will be an old guy who will play out of his mind, like Tom Watson, who I talked about earlier as a legendary starter. He was like in his late 50s and was top 10 after Friday 5 or 6 years ago because they know the course, especially if it gets a little bit windy there. It's not gonna be quite as hot this week as usual either. And the older guys do just know where to hit it and know every single putt on that golf course, and they can play well.
Yeah. So what about emerging talents, right? We got a lot of young guys who either maybe are not as they've played here, but maybe it's their first, second, third. They haven't played here a ton, right? We have I know we mentioned Oberg, Wyndham Clark, Thigala, Minwoo Lee. I think he's making splash with some of the stuff he's been doing. Akshay Bhatia. There's a lot of younger emerging talent that could again come up and maybe be somebody to win this. But out of that group, is there anybody that sticks out to you or you think is top 5, maybe even potentially in the running to win?
Great question. I think Oberg, as we talked about earlier, is by far the best chance.
Yeah.
The Thigala hype is so high, Sahith, and I feel like it always is very high for him. And he hasn't proved it on a Sunday or not even really a Saturday in the major yet.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if he's there though. He has an amazing caddy too. That may be some bias from the Netflix series. And then Akshay Bhatia is also very interesting to me. He's actually a Raleigh guy, so from around where I am. He's like the thinnest golfer I've ever met in my life, but he's a very small guy, but he has a lot of power.
Yeah.
And I was expecting him to do really well at Pinehurst because he played it a lot as a junior, being in the area. But I would not be surprised if he plays pretty well too.
Yeah, he's been one that has been on the rise, definitely. I mean, I picked him randomly one time in fantasy golf last year and he won. It was like the Mexico Open or something. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, it was one that I kept seeing on social media, and ever since then he's been playing a lot better. I don't know. I mean, Wyndham Clark's interesting to me. Obviously, he won a major. I think it was last year or the year before. Um, he won a major, but then it's like, I don't know. Like, he's very streaky. I still haven't gotten the trust that he's, one of the top golfers. I mean, he's always like up there, rankings and stuff, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on him? Do you think he's capable of winning Augusta?
Yeah, I mean, anyone's capable, but he definitely one of those guys that the form coming in is very important.
Yeah.
So I think he won the U.S. Open at LAGC at the Los Angeles Golf Course.
Yep.
And then right after that, actually, it was before that, he almost won the Players as well, but lipped like the worst lip out you could ever imagine. But he's self-admittedly a very mental golfer, and uses a lot of sports psychologists. He's his biggest fan of that. But if he's mentally not able to handle it, then physically it results in bad golf. So, not saying that's what's going on right now, but I haven't seen him play really well.
Yeah. One that I didn't mention in here, but I will just kind of put it on people's radar. One of the most important stats that I think I've seen at Augusta is the 150 to 200 yard range. So, like, if people are good at that range, generally speaking, they can do really well, because that is where you're going to be at a lot of the times in terms of your approach on some of the longer, par four, par fives, etc. Sepp Straka has been playing out of his mind, and I think he's one of the top ranked players in that category from what I was looking up. So I think he's kind of one of those sneaky ones where I may have to put him on my like sleeper list. I don't know if other people would consider him a sleeper, if you would, but I think he's been playing really well, and he has the, some of the strengths to play well in that 150 to 200 yard range.
Yeah, it's a great call. I think for the avid PGA fan, he's not a name that's foreign, but it's definitely a name that I've had to learn recently just because of how well he's playing. The other two lottery tickets that I would look out for is Shane Lowry.
Yep.
So he's an excellent iron player, which is very, very important. And you'll see a lot of people putting money on him just because of how good he is from that 150 to 200 yards out. And then the other I would really look out for too is Hideki Matsuyama. I mean, has the history. He won. That was one of the cool celebrations too, where he bowed to the flag. It was really cool. His caddy did. But yeah, he's an amazing iron player. And if he gets his driver figured out, then watch out.
So what about some question marks? We have Hovland, Cantlay, Fitzpatrick, Finau. Zalatoris was hurt. Spieth, he misses the cut one year. He gets in the top 5 next year. And Justin Thomas. Out of that kind of grouping of players, anybody sticking out to you as like, actually, I think, maybe they have a shot, or they seem like, they have a reasonable chance this year?
All those names you said, I would put as a decent chance. I would say JT is probably the best chance. He's been really informed lately.
Yeah.
The problem is he hasn't been able to put 4 good rounds together. I mean, he broke the record at the Players with the lowest round ever, but then he shot at like 81 the round before. So he was, very ice hot and cold. And then Hovland just won as well, like 2 weeks ago, I believe, or 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he always plays well in the Masters. That's probably if I would have him making the cut in top 20, no doubt.
Yeah, and he is such a great iron player too, and he's improved his short game. But yeah, he went through, I feel like kind of a streak where he was not playing well. He was struggling, and I think he was working on his swing and stuff like that. But my sneaky one out of that group is Zalatoris. He got hurt. He broke his back. He was kind of like up and coming, was playing super well at all the majors, got hurt, recovered. But I think, I think he placed second a couple of years back. So I think he's one of those ones that, he could really surprise people. So I'd keep an eye out on him.
Yeah, I think last year he came fresh off the back surgery. Like his first tournament back was the Masters.
Yeah,
I think
he
he
was
played
top
really,
10.
really well. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a tall task.
Yeah, for sure.
So then the last two groups we have are kind of the veterans and the amateurs, right? So veterans, we have, some of the ones we talked about: Mickelson, Keegan, Jason Day, Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Sergio. Anybody in there stick out to you, or is like, obviously any of them, I think, as we talked about, could make a run, but is there one person that sticks out of the veterans?
Yeah, and one thing I want to clarify too, and even Scott, you may not know this, but so when you win the Masters, you're allowed to play every single year, no matter what, qualifying wise. So,
No, I
so
didn't know
you'll
that.
so whenever you're out there, a lot of the players that do get cut, and that's why there's never a max number, right? 95 versus 96. I think Dave earlier said that Vijay Singh backed out, so it went down. But and and there will always be some of those older guys that play well. And the ones we're talking about now, I mean, some of them are previous champions, but I'm gonna have a bias. Keegan's been playing really well lately, and I hope he continues to play well. And he also got selected as the captain for the Ryder Cup. So if he wins the Masters, it'll be one of the, and he'll probably automatically be on the Ryder Cup team, which has never happened to have a player be the captain at the same time. Yeah, and he's already said that he's not going to choose himself. Like, so Scott, there's the first 8 automatically get in, and then the last, I don't know, like 6 or 8 get chosen by the captain as captain's picks. And he's already announced that he's not going to, even if he's a top 15 golfer, he's not going to say that he's in that spot. But if he wins the Masters, he'll probably be in that spot, which would be really, really cool.
Yeah. So I didn't know that you could automatically be in if you won before. Is that why Fred Couples is in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, is he competitive anymore? I feel like every time I watch golf, they highlight him, but he's never really golfing that well.
Maybe on the Champions League, which is like the older, like the after the PGA Tour, but I feel like he's like so old now that he's not he's not as competitive. Maybe like 5-10 years ago, I feel like he probably would have been a little more competitive.
He's lost his distance. Like a lot of older guys on the Champions Tour won't lose their distance for a while, but I think he's lost it. But he still has the most buttery, smooth swing. If you ever learn how to swing, you gotta look his up. It's beautiful. And it looks like he's just like casually walking down the street. Like it's the easiest looking swing you could ever imagine. So
yeah. One name I didn't mention, which I remember us texting about this, was is it Angel Cabrera, or is that his name? Angel Cabrera is back.
Yeah.
And let's talk just for a second about that, right? Because he was in prison or jail or something.
Yeah, he was in jail for 2.5 years, I believe. Because he was either assault or battery in South America, and then whatever country he was being accused of, he left that country and went to another country, and then that automatically got him put in jail for 2.5 years. But then on one of his first starts in the Champions Tour, so the Champions Tour is all the older players, he won last week. So so that makes a couple of things interesting. He was always this is the first time he's been allowed to come back at the Champions dinner for like the past 4 years. So that'll be a fun Champions dinner. And then it'll be really interesting if he's like top 10 or 20, and the CBS broadcast is going to have to not talk about what's happened in his past, which will be very interesting.
I have a question about the Champions dinner. Is that televised at all, or is it more of a private event?
Very private.
Okay.
Yeah. They'll have like a picture after of everyone.
Picture. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, it's funny because, let's say Cabrera and Scheffler somehow get paired, like they both went to jail. So when they have that in common, I guess.
That's right. Maybe that's the only thing they have in common besides playing golf. Yeah.
And then of the amateurs, a couple notable ones we have. I think his name is Jose Barrio, Evan Beck, Justin Hastings, Noah Kent, and Hiroshi Tai. Anything stick out there? I know kind of, not maybe as well known as some, but it's always cool to also see the amateurs make this and be able to play and, get, like last year, I know I think it was his name Shipley. He got paired with Tiger Woods on the final day, and he was like,
awesome.
He was still in college. So he was like, dude, I'm living in a dorm room and I just played with Tiger Woods.
Yeah. I really don't know, honestly. I'm not that deep into it. I always notice that the SEC golfers or the ACC golfers are really, really good.
Yeah.
And Noah Kent went to Florida, or is at Florida currently.
Yeah.
But nothing would, anything. It would surprise me if one of them made a cut. It doesn't happen very often when one makes a cut. And the low amateur does get a trophy, and I believe a jacket as well. I'm not sure if they get the jacket or not. And the crazy thing is sometimes the low amateur is done on Friday, and then he gets to stay at the Masters until Sunday to get his trophy. So, I would go with the guy from Florida.
Yeah, I think the only fun fact I had was Barrio apparently he's coached by Sergio Garcia's father. So yeah, kind of an interesting piece where Sergio is going to be playing and he's coached by his father. So I thought that was a fun fact. I think he's from Spain, if I'm not mistaken.